Why Vamps Ep22 Shadows of the Past. The hypnotic spell. Arya's frantic escape through the forest seemed to last an eternity. Her every step filled with dread and desperation. Exhaustion weighed heavily on her, her muscles screaming for rest. The darkness of the forest pressed in around her, each shadow and rustle sending waves of fear through her already frayed nerves. Just as she thought she could go no further, she felt a strange sensation creeping into her mind, like a cool mist seeping through the cracks of her consciousness. She stumbled, her vision blurring as the world around her seemed to slow. Panic surged within her, but it was dulled, as if wrapped in a thick fog. "Arya," Daniel's voice echoed softly in her mind, soothing yet sinister. "Stop running, you have nothing to fear." Her feet faltered, her body responding to his voice against her will. She tried to fight it, to push away the heavy fog that clouded her thoughts, but it was no use. Each step became heavier, her willpower slipping away like sand through her fingers. "Come to me," Daniel's voice whispered, an irresistible command. "You are safe with me." She turned slowly, her movements mechanical, and saw him standing there, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. His presence radiated a malevolent power that seemed to wrap around her, pulling her closer. "That's right," he said softly, his voice a velvet trap. "Come to me." Arya's mind screamed in protest, but her body obeyed. She took a step towards him, then another, her resistance weakening with each movement. The forest around them blurred, the trees melting into shadowy figures. And all that remained clear was Daniel's figure, drawing her in like a moth to a flame. Her thoughts were no longer her own, clouded and distorted by his influence. She could feel his presence inside her mind, a dark, invasive force that twisted her memories and emotions. The fear she had felt moments ago was being replaced by a strange, unsettling calm. "You're safe now," Daniel's voice promised, but Arya's heart knew the truth. She was anything but safe. As he guided her deeper into the forest, his control over her grew stronger. She felt like a puppet, her strings pulled by an unseen hand. Every step she took was against her will, her inner strength, battling desperately against the overwhelming power of his influence. "Arya," his voice was a low murmur in her mind, "we belong together. You know this." "No," she whispered, barely audible, her voice a faint echo of her former resolve. "This isn't right." Daniel's grip tightened, his eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her shiver. "You can't escape me, you don't want to escape." Her mind reeled, fighting to break free from the fog that clouded her thoughts. She dug deep within herself, searching for a spark of defiance, a flicker of the strength that had kept her going this far. "You are mine," Daniel said, his voice a cold command. "Accept it." "No," the word burst from her lips, louder this time, fueled by a surge of determination. She focused on that single word, using it as a lifeline to pull herself out of the fog. Arya's vision cleared for a moment, the forest coming back into sharp focus. She saw the path ahead, the way the moonlight filtered through the trees, casting eerie shadows on the ground. She felt a moment of clarity, a brief respite from his control. She seized that moment, digging her nails into her palms, the pain grounding her. "I won't," she said, her voice stronger. "I won't be yours." Daniel's eyes narrowed, his expression darkening. "You can't resist me, Arya." But she could. She had to. She forced herself to remember who she was, to hold on to the memories of her strength, her resilience. The diary of her mother, the love she had once felt for Daniel. All these memories were hers, not his. "You don't control me," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "I control myself." With a final, desperate surge of willpower, she broke free from his influence, her mind clearing like a storm lifting. She stumbled back, putting distance between them, her heart pounding with fear and determination. Daniel's face twisted in anger, his eyes flashing with a dangerous light. "You can't escape me, Arya. This isn't over." But she didn't listen. She turned and ran, her legs weak but fueled by newfound strength. The forest seemed to open up before her, the path clearer than it had been before. She could still feel Daniel's presence behind her, a dark shadow that loomed over her. But she focused on the light ahead, on the hope that had sparked within her. Each step was a struggle, her body and mind exhausted. But she pushed on, driven by the fierce will to survive, to reclaim her life and freedom. The forest was still a labyrinth of shadows and fear, but she no longer felt hopeless. She was Arya, and she would find a way out. With every step she took, she felt Daniel's presence fading, his control over her weakening. She knew the battle was far from over, but for now, she had won a small victory. She had resisted, and she had survived. The forest, once a place of dread, now seemed like a symbol of her struggle and her strength. She would find her way out, she would keep fighting, and she would never give up. As the night wore on, Arya continued her journey. Through the dark and unfamiliar forest, her mind clear and her heart resolute. She was no longer just a frightened girl running from a powerful foe. She was a fighter, determined to reclaim her life and her freedom, no matter the cost.